It's just a matter of knowing that you can do it and then doing it. Let go. Don't need all those belongings. Don't need that car. You don't need a house. You don't need all that shit. You can always get that later if you need to, but in the meantime, let someone else maintain it. Let someone else pay the utilities. You don't have to pay those high prices for food. And hey, Laura, good to see you
Hey,
again.
yeah, you too.
Like you mentioned, Gilbert Orozco is my name. I'm glad you asked me to do this because I've been thinking about putting together some material for a video of my own, and also just for it helps me to go back over some memories of the last few months to talk about it. So I'm happy to do it. Anyway, so what I was going to talk about is I am in the 6th month of full-time travel around the world. I'm originally from California, and I retired in 2022 with a pension, and which is not a lot, but it allows me to do as I wish. First got the travel bug back when I was in junior high school, when I had an opportunity to go to Iceland for 2 summers in a row and absolutely loved it. And then throughout life, I did traveling around the country here and there, mainly in the military, and then also around the world in the military. But it was on active duty, and so there wasn't a lot of time to spend in the places we went. I mean, most time we spent anywhere was in the Philippines, where we'd be there for a week or two, getting maintenance done. But everywhere else, it was maybe 3 or 4 days, and then you had limited time on shores. Got to see a lot of places, but didn't get to enjoy the culture. So once I retired in 2022, I didn't have unlimited resources, like I mentioned, but I had a pretty good amount of savings. And so I started to travel around the United States. Did a month in September of 2023 where I took Amtrak all around the country and included a couple of flights in that. And it was a very neat experience, but it was very expensive. And I knew I couldn't continue to do that, nor did I really want to do that. There's a lot of um, changes that have happened in my country over probably the last 20 years that it seems to have evolved into not an awesome place to be overall, because there's a lot of social issues. And the places that I like the most, like New York City, Seattle, San Francisco, those are where a lot of
You
that
froze a little bit
garbage is
on me.
going, is happening. And so wasn't sure what to do. I moved to North Dakota because I figured it'd be cheap to live
Hmm.
and I could save money on rent and just travel from there. And that worked out okay, but that was the most boring place I've ever been. I don't understand Norwegian people, and I knew I had to get out of there. The last um, April, I went out to Seattle and spent 2 weeks out there, and just did a lot of thinking, did a lot of research while I was out there on international travel. And I realized that once you get to foreign countries, it's very inexpensive to stay there for however long the country allows. And once I learned that, I was off to the races. I started my travel planning, and that went from May through August. And on August 31st, I had booked a full year of accommodations and travel. I had turned over my apartment, sold, gave away, or threw away everything I owned with the exception of clothes and some personal items and my electronics that fit into 2 backpacks. And I went out to Seattle on an Amtrak, got on a jet to Vietnam, and started this life. And so that's kind of the background of where I'm at right now. Keep in mind, I'm not wealthy, and there's a whole lot of fear if you watch the news or you look at the State Department website for some of these countries that I've been to and I'm going to, that it's nothing but fear mongering and propaganda. Bad things happen everywhere, in every country, in every city. Most people just don't see it because the police take care of it or people don't get caught. But so far, everywhere I've been, which is Vietnam, Japan, Mexico, and now Italy, um, the people are wonderful. They're just very humble. There's not that guarded attitude and ego like so many of the places I've lived in the United States and have been and probably still am myself. It's something that I am working on,
Hmm.
that I don't have to wear a mask when I'm in these foreign countries. You just be a, just be good to people and they're good to you. Um, it's one of the biggest things I'm learning. So about a month into the planning in May, I kind of woke up in a panic thinking, what the hell am I doing? Well, this is just one of your ideas, you know. But I had already had a spreadsheet with all the numbers on it, and I just whipped that out, and I remembered some of the videos that I'd watched of travelers that do full-time traveling, and I said, "Oh, I can do this for under $1,000 a month." And because my pension is $1,685, and I get that until I'm 62, and then I get Social Security, which is going to be in that ballpark. And then I have some retirement funds that I can draw on as well at that time. But I'm only spending an average, and I'm keeping detailed records on the spreadsheet of this whole project. Right now, I'm at $1,000 a month is my average. One of the most important things I learned in doing the research was the way to save money on accommodations and do what I'm doing, which is commonly known as slow traveling, which is staying in a place 30 days or more, really as long as the government allows without a visa, is that on Airbnb, if you book a accommodation for 30 days or more, there's a big discount. Sometimes it's smaller, sometimes it's almost 50%, depends on the host. And
Hmm.
so I've got some amazing places for, I mean, I was just in Agropoli, Italy for 7 days because I left Mexico early, 7 days early and got here and I wanted to check out this town. It's not far from the Amalfi Coast, which is like a very world-class expensive place. And Agropoli it's the same type of place as the Amalfi Coast. It's a village on the ocean and I had I had a one-bedroom apartment overlooking the harbor, and I paid $300 for 7 nights. That's because it was low season. That particular apartment goes for over $1,700 a month during the regular season, or more during the summer because it's a big tourist destination. My intention when I get to any country is to learn as much of the language as I can by just first learning how to say please, thank you, hello, good morning, good night, that kind of thing. And then just using Google Translate or a combination of their English, and we just kind of figure it out. And, I then learn as much as I can with YouTube videos to learn the language. And also to be around the culture. In each of these places, I've booked places that were not in the tourist zones, but in just regular neighborhoods.
Hmm.
And so it's living amongst the regular population and seeing how it is. And it's very interesting to do that. I almost have an aversion to particularly American tourists. I don't mean to, disparage my country. It's just that there is something about us that it's a sense of entitlement, and not everybody. I hope I'm not that, but I see it and I hear it in the negativity. So I see a lot of people from Europe, different countries in Europe, and they're just delightful to be around.
Hmm.
A young couple just moved into the apartment next to here from Norway, and they'll be here the same length of time as me, which is until the end of April. So that's pretty cool. So that's kind of how I do it. Is I just look for the accommodations that have what I want. At least a one-bedroom apartment that has cooking facilities, so I can cook at home. I found in Vietnam that it was more expensive to eat at home than it was to eat out because the food there is not only excellent, but it's incredibly inexpensive and they have the best coffee I've ever had anywhere, hands down. It was amazing. Although this Italian coffee is pretty doggone good too. My God. So yeah, I've had some ups and downs financially. Every time I look at my numbers, I'm actually saving money and I'm 6 months into this now or close to it. things could go haywire at any time, but that's true with anything. It's just that little bit of fear that creeps in. But I know through my life experiences that it doesn't matter what happens. Everything's great right now. And if there are things that come up, I just deal with them. It doesn't matter. As far as traveling to get to the destinations, I made a couple mistakes early on, was where I had intended to come here first to Italy. And once I booked it, I got all excited and just like a kid in a candy store. I said, oh, well, hell, I'm going to Vietnam next month, which turned out to be September. And then I'll go to Japan and I'll come back to the States. I said, well, hell, I'll just go to Mexico, and that's why I ended up in those places first. But that was not good travel wise because when you go from west to east, the jet lag is much worse than coming east to west. That was my experience, and I'd heard that. And I might have that the other way around, but I think that's it. Because when I flew to Iceland and when I flew to Paris to get here, it was no big deal at all. I didn't have much jet lag other than, it was an overnight trip. So, but going back to Asia, that's a rough one. That put me down for a couple of days. And so the way I'm keeping up with those costs is had an initial investment for the first year, but then the savings on, I'm not paying any utilities. Food is very inexpensive. Transportation, Vietnam had Grab, which is the same thing as Uber. Mexico had Uber. Japan, I didn't need anything because the train system and the buses are so efficient there and inexpensive. So my transportation costs are very low. So for the months where I'm in a country, I'm saving up for future bookings and then paying cash for them and transportation. So I'm staying ahead that way. Had an upfront cost that I just use savings to pay for, and then
Yeah.
I just put my pension payment away, a portion of it every month, and
Yeah.
just do it that way.
And how does it work? Like if you get sick, do you carry insurance with you?
So as far as medical goes, I have in the United States, I have VA. And I also have 25 plus years working in and around hospitals, which generated a aversion to ever going to a hospital, and it's absolutely necessary. I'm responsible for my own health. I realize that, you know, what I would seek care for is, say, a fracture, maybe some acute pain that could be resolved, with just some kind of quick procedure. Those types of things, absolutely. I have travel medical insurance that is good for emergencies, and I noticed its cost is dependent on where I go, but it averages out to about $60 a month. But it's not all inclusive. Like that's for emergencies. It does not cover prior conditions or say acute, conditions like if you got cancer or something like that. I just got to go back to the States. But quite frankly, if I have something that's going to be terminal, I'm going to say, hey, give me some good morphine, a little bit of weed, and some whiskey, and I'm good.
Yeah.
I ain't going back to deal with that in the States. So the plan is, were something to come up where I decided to get care, just hot foot it back to the States, go to Fargo, which is where I'm enrolled with VA, take care
Hmm.
of it, and then bounce.
Yeah.
And then for emergencies, pay out of pocket, file a claim. And quite frankly, the cost for medical care in most of the countries is dirt cheap compared to the United States. First thing I did in Vietnam was get a dental cleaning, and it cost $35. I mean,
Oh,
that was my monthly dental insurance stipend or bill, and it was just a first class, pristine, modern dental office. The dentist had gone to school in the United States and spoke English, and they treated me like a king. I mean, they had a concierge who greeted you at the door with a smile. The insurance, or the not insurance, but because it was cash. The registration clerk was friendly, and then after you do that, they take you to another lounge and give you, the coffee or water or whatever you want, and then you go into the dental suite. And then they actually contacted me afterwards, like a couple hours after the appointment, to ask me how everything went and, you know, thank me for coming in. I mean, the experience there is, so that's going to, Vietnam's my dental. And if I have something that Like I had a cataract taken care of last summer at the VA in Fargo, and I had put that off for 4 years. I went with no vision in my left eye for 4 years because I just didn't want to go to the hospital. So, but they took care of it, and it was very easy.
Hmm.
If anything goes wrong with those eyes or something that I don't need immediate care for, I'm going to go to Indonesia and just pay out of pocket.
What are some of the dangerous situations you mentioned? Did you want to share any of those?
Those nothing like that has been on this journey here. Everything's gone perfectly fine. Nothing needs to be brought up. It's all in the United States.
Oh, okay. So you actually probably feel safer outside of the United States
I
with
feel
traveling?
safer outside of the United States. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah, there's it's. I can't believe what's become of some of the big cities and what's being allowed to happen. I don't know if it's going to change now that we have a new president who claims he's going to clean up things. I kind of have a feeling he's part of it, but you never know. It's a very young country, and I mean, 250 years, that's a baby. I mean, this place, this mountain I'm on, it's had people for thousands of years. I'm in this old stone house overlooking a valley,
Hmm.
and I was in a Roman temple 3 days ago. I didn't even know it was here, but it's there's three Roman temples here, that's just like the ones they have in Rome. I thought I had to go to Rome to see them, but no, they were here. So walking around that grounds and through that temple is just amazing.
Yeah. And do you get tour guides as you're going, or is it more you just kind of, eating at someone's restaurant and ask them, hey, what's the best place to go to?
That's my general is just figure it out myself. When I was in Iceland prior to this journey, I did a tour just to get some local knowledge because I was only there for 7 days. So I figured, let me just do this. And then my host for this last accommodation in Agropoli was a tour guide. So he's the one I went to that. Uh, he's the one that told me about that Roman temple. We also visited a buffalo farm and then a beach that was right near where I was at that had some. There was a lot of action in that area in World War II. So he had, yeah, it was well worth it to pay him. He's a really cool guy. Uh, his name was Giuseppe. I kind of stereotype. The experience with him was something that made me think, yeah, maybe I will do that. On the other hand, it was just me and him.
Hmm.
My experience with tours in the past is when you're with a group of people, there's a lot of, the tour guide seems to have a need to entertain. There's a lot of fake laughter, and I can't deal with that. Just give it to me straight. Yeah, if there's something funny, great, but I don't need an act. Just give me some facts about the place and that kind of thing. So I don't do well in groups like that. But one-on-one tours, I definitely would do more of them. Yeah.
No, that's fair, right? It's totally fair. So, how have you been navigating booking the flights? Do you want to, do you have any tricks
Yeah.
or tips for people with booking it?
Yeah. Yeah. My technique is the first thing I do is I go on Google Flights and just get an idea of what to look for. And then I go on Chat GPT and I input the same information and see what it comes up with, which is often many more options. And then I change my VPN to that country so it makes it appear that I'm in the country. And then I check the prices directly on the airline's website. And I found deals that way because you're recognized as someone in the country. You get a different price. It's not always a difference, but I've seen it. Also, with Google Flights, like my flight after here to Montenegro was from Corfu, Greece to North Macedonia, and Google Flights tracks the changes, and they fluctuate daily.
Hmm.
So I've seen that flight for $200, and I've seen it down to $80.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm getting close to booking it. I think in May or so is when I'm going to book it because it's not until August of 2020. What is this? It's late 2026, maybe 2027, um, when I'll be taking that flight. It must be 2026 because you can't book it out, you know, more than usually about 9 months or something like that. But it's giving me the price, so Soon as it gets to 80 or 90 bucks, I'll book it
Hmm.
and then go from there. But yeah, that VPN helps out a lot. That VPN also helps out a lot. I watch a lot of mixed martial arts and the UFC Fight Pass app, and my God, I found tricks with that. If I just set my VPN for Japan, I can watch the full card of the pay-per-views the Monday after they happen on Saturday night for free. And I can watch the prelims on there, which you normally have to subscribe to ESPN Plus
Yeah.
to watch the prelims. But if I set it to Japan, I can watch them on that app. Also, YouTube. I figured out how to get around the commercials without doing YouTube Premium. I just set my VPN for Albania. They don't have any commercials, so there's no commercials on it.
Is
So
that funny?
yeah, these are some tricks I'm learning. Or sometimes if I want to watch like Italian commercials, I'll just set it for Italy. Or I liked Vietnam commercials because they and Japan commercials because they're actually kind of entertaining and I can't understand what they're saying. So it's just like some background music or whatever. So
Yeah.
each place is different. The United States
Yeah.
is nothing but, pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
insurance, buy this car, which I couldn't stand. So I used to pay for YouTube Premium, but no more. I learned a new trick.
That's good. I'm just trying to think if I had any other questions for you. Solo travel adventures. You don't do risky things though when you're traveling. Like you're not wanting to go rock climbing and doing things, parachuting, things like that, or is that part of what you're doing too?
I'll do parachuting if I find the right situation. I've done that. I'm a private pilot and I've done aerobatics and all that stuff. As rock climbing, even like they have e-bikes here for rent.
Hmm.
I'm in a mountain and it's all twisty, windy roads. I ain't getting on one of those things. I mean, I rode motorcycles from when I was about 14 till I was about, I don't know, like 48. With my last bike, so many people were just on their phones and there's so many close calls I had in traffic. I lost the love for it. So I don't ride motorcycles anymore, or even bicycles because, I'm 56 now and I don't want to fall down. I did all that stuff as a kid, BMX racing, you know, um, a lot of contact sports, martial arts, all that shit. But I want to feel comfortable now. So walking, hiking, this place has some spectacular hiking trails, yoga, and but um, and scuba diving. I haven't done any diving since I think I was about 30, so it's been over 20 years. But they do it here even in the winter, and I think, God, I got to get back in that water. So as soon as I'm in a place, and many of my bookings coming up are in coastal towns. And if the climate's right, the water's safe, yeah, I'm going to get up back in that water and do some scuba diving for sure. And parachuting too. Parachuting's amazing. I mean, if you
Never
die, you
done it.
die. There's no pain. A little bit of fear that'll be 2 or 3 seconds, and then you're just dead. But the exhilaration when it goes right is just unbelievable. Have you ever done it?
No, no, I'm
Yeah.
terrified.
You just got to go do it. You just got to let go of that
No,
fear.
I'm totally terrified. The closest I've been
Well, you
is like
should be.
zip. Yeah, no thanks.
It's jumping out of a plane.
Oh no, no, I don't like heights. I think it was Costa Rica. We did zip lining, and
Yeah.
I was terrified. I was
I
absolutely
actually
terrified the entire time.
Actually, that's one thing that scares me is zip lining. I don't because I've seen so many videos of accidents and also bungee jumping. It
Yeah,
doesn't appeal to me. And I've done zip lining in the army, and I know it's not a big deal if everything's safe. It's just some of those there, I mean, they're really high and I just don't know the quality. That kind of thing for some reason, if it's close to the ground, I'm not down with it. I'll go from high altitude, no problem. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, but it's close to the ground, rock
yeah,
climbing and stuff like that. Nah, doesn't
yeah,
interest me.
yeah.
Nah.
And I didn't know you had your private pilot's license. Do you fly when you're back stateside?
No, it's been years since I've flown. I did it. I got it when I was in the Navy, and then did it for a while, just going around practicing touch and goes and flying here and there. it's a great thing to do with a date. Hey, you want to go fly? I can do it. Um, and I started instrument training, but the cost of it was exorbitant, and eventually I just kind of gave up. And then I gained weight, so now I'm too fat to fit in the two-seaters, so now I got to pay for the four-seaters. And it's something, the license never goes away, it's just the medical cert. That's what you have to keep up. And then currency, you just go get your medical and then go get a local flight instructor. Hey, bro, I need some touch up. And for someone who doesn't fly a lot, you just stay out of the congested areas and just, it's really kind of like driving a car in those small propeller planes.
Yeah.
Same skill set. You just have to you got rules to follow, procedures to go by, and if you do them, you're fine. If you don't, there's a high cost.
Yeah.
Like there's things that happened out there in Washington a couple of days ago. Someone
I
didn't
was
do.
gonna ask you about that. I'm like, with your experience in the military, being a private pilot, what are your thoughts on what happened there?
Well, I follow several pilot YouTube channels that they go over accident investigations, and they were all over that one.
Yeah.
And the most likely scenario, and they'll find out what the black boxes was, that helicopter pilot who was 100 feet above where she was supposed to be, she was at 300 feet and not 200, is she didn't have her altimeter set properly for the barometric pressure of that area. Because if you're off by one number, that's a 100-foot variation. So she may have thought, and I say she because it was a woman, just to say the flight crew, that's the most likely scenario because they have all the instruments. Even though she didn't have a lot of hours, she had 500 hours flight time, which is nothing, but it's still, you know what you're doing. But if you make a little mistake like that in a congested area at night with night vision goggles, catastrophe can happen. Plus helicopters, they are going a little bit nose down and they got that instrument panel blocking the vision, whereas an aircraft goes a little bit nose up so that it can create lift under the wing. So if you come in nose to nose, this one's going slightly down and this one's slightly up. You can't see each other. And it's at night with all the background lighting.
Yeah.
It's just a recipe for disaster, which can be managed if you do everything correctly. 99.9% the pilots do things correctly, but when they mess up, then it's a tragedy.
Is there not some sort of like, with cars nowadays, when you go to make a lane change, there's a beep that there's a car too close? Is there nothing like that in a Black Hawk helicopter?
It's been around for many years. It's called TCAS, Traffic Collision Avoidance System.
Yeah.
However, because it will, let's say you're in that jet, right? If the TCAS was on and it recognized that there was an aircraft coming directly at them, it would make a decision to either power up, nose up, and climb, or descend. But they were at 500 or 300 feet. If you descend from 300 feet, you're going to hit the ground very quickly. Below, I think it's 500 feet or 1,000 feet, TCAS is disabled. They turn it off. The
Oh,
controller has it, so they know when there's a collision. And they even, right before they hit, they asked the helicopter pilot if they could see the jet, and they said yes. There was another jet behind and above the one that collided with the helicopter. And so the thought is that that's the jet they saw, or she just lied. Because there was city lights behind them. It's very difficult to spot other aircraft in that kind of scenario. So there's a thing called get home-itis with pilots, is that you want to complete the mission, and these are military pilots. You want to look good to your instructor because she was going through a performance review. You want to be independent. She had requested visual flight rules, meaning it was her responsibility to tell the controller that she could see that aircraft and that she would avoid it. Well, clearly she didn't see the aircraft because it was directly in front of her. And it's very hard to see in daylight. It's very hard to see another aircraft if it's right in front of you, just because how our eyes work, and then whatever the background is. And it was literally right in front of her. So there's no way she saw that aircraft because she wouldn't have hit it if she did.
yeah.
Got hit by it anyway. It's just a horrible situation for everybody.
Yeah. And they would have
Just
had
a
no
worst
time.
case scenario,
Yeah.
huh?
They wouldn't have had any time to parachute out of the helicopter or anything.
No, the pilots of the regional jet, there's a voice recording of like a split second where you could hear like a oh shit kind of thing, and then they pulled up to climb, but then impact right there. There was no time. But again, the Black Hawk, because they're a little bit nose down, that's how helicopters fly. They probably never saw the jet at all. It's
Mm.
just boom, and now they're dead. You know. So yeah, but the jet did see the Black Hawk right at the last second, which is too late to do anything about it. Yeah, scary stuff.
And there was another one too, a small aircraft, wasn't there? There.
That Learjet, the flight, unknown exactly what happened with that, but the most likely scenario because of the weather conditions and the flight pattern of that jet. That's a very high performance Learjet, but I think it's 40 years old. And the route that they took, everything was going fine, and he was in communication with the tower. And then suddenly he banked and then started descending at a very high rate and rolled without ever contacting the tower after that. So the because everything seemed to be in order, um, is highly likely it was just spatial disorientation because he was in the clouds. Even though it was an experienced pilot, it can happen to anybody. It's just you, your body starts making you feel like you're turning right, so you'll turn left even though you're straight and level. And in severe cases like that, if that's what happened, you can actually, and it happens, is you fly the airplane right into the ground.
Mm.
We'll never know because that plane, because of its age, did not have a black box. So it'll be all speculation. It was obliterated when it hit the ground because of the force of the impact and all that fire.
Hmm.
But they have the flight data, so I was watching that this morning, and that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Just a tragedy. There's a little girl on there. She was the patient, and then her mother. They were going to Tijuana, and then it was three flight crew, the medical staff and the pilot.
Sad. So
Don't remember if
sad.
there was a second pilot or not. Yeah, yeah. It's he should not have been on visual. If that's what happened, could have been something wrong with the plane. It's
Yeah.
possible. But if that's what happened and that's what it looks like, he didn't have it on autopilot and he was trying to fly it himself. And not a good thing in those conditions.
Yeah.
But he probably did it 1,000 times before. And just
Hmm.
that day, maybe he didn't get enough sleep. Maybe he got drunk last night, or who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Ugh. Well, that's a sad note to end on. We should end on something happier than that.
Yeah,
How's
but my flight got here for all my flights have gone great. No flaws whatsoever.
do you get
Yeah.
nervous when you fly with all your
No,
knowledge that you have?
no.
No.
But you know what I do? And it's pretty dark. When I'm in the gate, I look around and I look at everyone and I says, we could die together. All of us could be dead here. Because it's true. And then when we get to the device, God, hey, we didn't die. We're good to go. I don't say that out loud. You don't want to do that. But
Yeah.
it it's I mean it's the safest form of transportation, hands down. And all you got to do is go on FlightAware, that app or website, and see how many planes are up there at any time of day. Everything goes just fine.
Yeah.
That's why when something does happen, it makes the news worldwide. It's horrible because it's horrible, but those things are very rare.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
I just that hey, anybody who thinks that this is a life that is interesting to them, know that it's possible.
Hmm.
You just got to let go of the fear. You don't need a lot of money. You need some kind of income. But I've met people that are doing this because they have IT jobs or other types of jobs that they work online, and they just go live wherever they want, make United States money. So that's like perfect. And there's a lot of people doing that all over the world.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of knowing that you can do it and then doing it. Let go. Don't need all those belongings. You don't need that car. You don't need a house. You don't need all that shit. You can always get that later if you need to, but in the meantime, let someone else maintain it. Let someone else pay the utilities. Don't have to pay those high prices for food and really not even good for you.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation too about the Canadian and American food and diet.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure speaking with you again, and I wish you all the best on your travels and look forward to following along on your YouTube channel. I'll see if I can link it down below so people can subscribe to you and like all your content.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. Good talking to you. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, appreciate your time too. Take care.